Hello, welcome back. We were saying that factors that are external include physical factors and chemical factors, and I was just giving you examples of physical factors. I talked of cell to cell contact, and we said the real reason is, however, not known, but one hypothesis is that receptors on the neighboring cell bind to each other and cause the cell's cytoskeleton to form structures that may block the signals that trigger growth. Many cells also release chemical signals that tell other cells to grow. Many cells also release chemical signals. They release chemical signals that tell other cells to grow. So these signals will actually tell other cells to grow. And a very good example for this, for example, growth factors. Growth factors. So these growth factors are just but an example. So we have these growth factors being a good example. What are growth factors? They are a broad group of proteins. A broad are a broad group of proteins. They are a group of proteins that stimulate cell division. That stimulate cell division. So they stimulate cell division. So growth factors bind to receptors that activate specific genes to trigger cell growth. Growth factors bind to receptors that activate specific genes to trigger cell growth. So if we have something like this being a cell, then we have maybe an external signal, then we have chemicals being released, and these chemicals bind to receptors. Maybe we have other proteins here where they will bind. After they bind, they instigate specific genes to trigger growth. So in general, cells grow and divide in response to a combination of different growth factors and not one. In general, cells grow and divide in response to a combination of factors. in response to a combination of different factors. So there is no one specific factor, that not just one. There is no one specific factor that is known actually to control the cell division. Some growth factors affect many different types of cells. Some growth factors may affect many different groups of cells. So some growth factors affect many different group of cells. Some growth factors will affect many different types of cells. For example, platelets are sticky fragments of bone marrow cells. They form clots that help stop bleeding. Platelets store a type of growth factor that helps you repair wounds by triggering the growth of many different cell types. So this is just an example. One example is platelets. Platelets. So platelets store a type of growth factor it stores a type of growth factor that helps your body repair wounds, that help your body repair wounds. How does it do that? By triggering the growth of many different cell types. By triggering the growth of many cell types. So other growth hormones have more specific targets. Other growth hormones have more specific targets. Have more specific target. So unlike in this case, where the growth hormone helps triggers the growth of many types of cells, other growth hormones have more specific targets. For instance, we are looking at an example here, erythropoietin. 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 So erythropoietin is just one example here. We looked at the first one here was platelets. Now we have erythropoietin. Stimulates the production of only stimulates the production of only it stimulates the production of only that cell, only one cell, the production of only one cell type, i.e. red blood cell. So it doesn't stimulate the production of any other, but only that one specific cell that we are calling the red blood cell. So it will be specific. It will be specific. So red blood cells carry oxygen. If you moved, for example, from the coast to the mountains, your blood oxygen level would be lower because the air pressure is lower at high altitude. Blood pressure is lower at high altitude. Let me try to make a sketch of this
The ability of cancer
so
cells
that
to
it's
avoid
easy
apoptosis or programmed
to
cell
actually
death.
understand. So you are having here a steep mountain, sort of. So you have something like a steep mountain. So we are saying as you go higher, the altitude, as you go higher, the pressure decreases. Pressure decreases. So as you are going high, pressure decreases. And when the pressure is lower at those high altitude, we are talking of mountains or hilly places, then the decrease in this leads to decrease in blood oxygen level. This will lead to decrease in blood. Decrease in blood. So blood will also decrease. As you move high, the pressure decreases, the red blood cells also decrease. The decrease in blood oxygen level would cause your body to produce more erythropoietins. So because of this decrease, more erythropoietin will be released. That factor would increase the number of red blood cells and raise your blood oxygen level. So here, more erythropoietin will be released. More erythropoietin. That is why people will go for high mountain or latitude training before they go for marathon races or long distance races. So when this will lead to an increase in the red blood cells. So various hormones may also stimulate the growth of certain cell types. In particular, growth hormone results in bone growth and also affects your protein and fat metabolism. The next factor here is the internal factor. The next factor here is the internal factor. So human embryos have webbed digits. Actually, this is not related to what we're going to discuss, so I will put it somewhere. We might be using it in later times. So we are looking at internal factors here. We are looking at internal factors. So when external factors bind to their receptors, they can trigger internal factors that affect the cell cycle. Two of the most important and well-studied internal factors involved in eukaryotic cell cycle are kinesis and cyclin. Kinesis and cyclin. So both these are actually proteins, but they are responsible for what I'm calling here kinesis and cyclins. So what is a kinase enzyme? So a kinase enzyme is an enzyme that when activated, a kinase enzyme is an enzyme that when activated, a kinase enzyme is an enzyme that when activated transfers a phosphate group from one molecule to a specific target molecule. To a specific target molecule. To a specific target molecule. So this action typically increases the energy of the target molecule or changes its shape. So this will increase the energy of the target molecule or change its shape. This action increases the energy of the target molecule or increases its shape. Or will increase its shape. Increase, not rather increase, but change. Change. Or change its shape. So what is the importance of it increasing the energy of the target cell? Or what is the importance of it actually changing the shape of this cell? So your cells have many types of kinases, and they are almost always present in the cell. So those kinases that help control the cell cycle are activated by cyclins. They are activated by cyclins. So an energy cannot, for example, function well or carry its function well if it's not getting the energy that it needs, or it doesn't change the shape to the required shape. Like if it is supposed to stop the progression of cell division, there might be a specific shape that it should be in order for it to stop this progress to go on. So those kinases that help control the cell cycle are actually activated by cyclins. Those kinases that are those kinases that are that help, that is not that help, those kinases that help control the cell cycle, control the cell cycle, control the cell cycle are activated by cyclins, are activated by cyclins. So we'll stop here. Next, we will be looking at what is the effect of activation of these kinases